We'd like to thank Montecito Bank and Trust for their generous support in making Scam Squad possible.
Scam Squad is up next.
Sound off.
1, 2.
Sound off.
3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Scam Squad.
Welcome to Scam Squad. I'm Patty Teal, and I'm so excited to have Inspector Kristina Perkins back. We've had Greg Hans filling in for her, and he did a great job, but it's really nice to have you back, Kristina.
Thank you, Patty. I'm very excited to be back.
And I know congratulations are in order because you just finished graduating from the FBI National Academy. And I know our listeners and I will want to hear all about that.
Yes, Patty. So I spent the last 10 weeks out in Virginia on the Marine base Quantico. And I received some excellent training that's hosted by the FBI, and I can answer any and all questions.
Oh, I bet you can. And I have some. That's so exciting. And of course, we all hear about Quantico on crime shows or anything that's featuring the FBI. What's it like there?
So it was the most amazing experience I've been, in my adult life for sure. I was in a dorm facility on the FBI premise. So on Quantico is the Marine base, but within that base is the FBI has a training facility, which is where their recruits are trained, and that's where the FBI Academy is. And then they host a national academy, which is comprised of law enforcement professionals. So that's what I attended. I was lucky enough to spend 10 weeks living on Quantico on the base, and surrounded by 243 other law enforcement professionals.
That is really, really exciting. And I know you have so much knowledge in law enforcement, and yet still, I'm sure you learned a lot at this academy. What were the top things that you feel were so important that you learned?
So I would say two things. And the first is that it was an academic program. So I earned my master's certificate from the University of Virginia while I was there.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes. So not my master's degree, but a master's certificate.
Uh-huh.
I took 6 courses. One of them was a physical training. So they considered that physical training a course as well. We did have classroom time. And then I had 4 graduate level courses and 1 undergraduate level course. So during the day, I spent my time in an academic setting. And then in the evening, which is the second part of your question of what I really took away from that, in the evening, I was able to spend time with the other law enforcement professionals there. There were, like I mentioned, 243 other people from law enforcement agencies all over the world. This is a program that also hosts international students. So represented there were 48 states in the United States. So 48 states, 24 countries, 11 military organizations, and 4 federal civilian organizations all had people attending. So my biggest takeaway besides the academic portion was just the networking and being able to spend time speaking with other law enforcement professionals and really getting a better understanding of what we're facing, not only in the United States, but also worldwide as law enforcement professionals.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And you're able probably, as you said, to network with them about anything that might come up, I would imagine.
Correct. We spoke about laws. We spoke about trends. I even highlighted Scam Squad and really, while I was there, pushed my thoughts on how financial elder abuse specifically is something we need to pay attention to globally. And so there were just a really good group of professionals that I now call friends. And we were able to just sit down, have those conversations, and really come out of the program better ready to serve our communities and better ready to make a more positive impact.
Yeah, that's so incredible. Very powerful.
Yeah, it was. It's coming out of it. It was a very powerful experience.
And I'm curious, were you able to choose which classes you took? And if so, which ones did you take?
I did. So I was able to choose, or it was almost like being back in college. You go in with your wish
Hmm.
list, but classes fill up because everyone is competing for the same classes.
Uh-huh.
So I took a legal class. I also wanted to here, working for the district attorney's office, I wanted to make sure that the courses I did spend time taking really translated to what I do. They
Hmm.
had courses like drug enforcement agency, terrorism, and while all those are extremely important and interesting, that doesn't translate to my position and how I
Hmm.
serve Santa Barbara County. So the courses that I chose, I took a legal course. So we dove into the law as it pertains to law enforcement,
Hmm.
Supreme Court decisions, and that one was an interesting one because I heard about struggles that other states had when it comes to their laws. So
Hmm.
it was a good perspective to see coming from California,
Hmm.
to see how other states are dealing with crime. So my legal class was an excellent class. I took a class on the media and the relationship with the police and the media. That class was specifically designed to better communicate with the media. So I know I
Hmm.
do it here, right? This is a media setting, but it
It
was,
sure is, yeah.
yes, yes. But it was more geared towards an event, right?
Okay.
If an event happens and the community has questions on how we're handling it as an office, how we can best put our message out there and communicate well with the media. That
Hmm.
was my second course, was the media. I took a class on a historical perspective and community relations. So we studied the history of law enforcement and just the impact that laws and events have had on our communities. And when I say our communities, I mean nationally.
Right.
That was mostly more race related, right?
Hmm.
Race related riots, race related incidents, and how we as law enforcement could be better at understanding how history makes a difference in what we do today.
Wow, you really got a bird's eye view, it sounds like,
Yes.
of the problem. Yeah.
Yes. So that was one that I think the discussion was the best,
Hmm.
as far as hearing people's perspective, hearing people's um individual perspectives. And when I mean people, I mean my colleagues in my class, and just how they translate their own personal experiences into how they police as well.
That's so fascinating. Now, I spent most of my adult life in Santa Barbara, but I'm in Florida now. Do
Yes,
terribly miss Santa Barbara, but
yes.
I don't hate Florida. There's some good things about it, but being I'm in the South, I wonder, do you feel like there's different perspectives as a group in different parts of the country?
I do. I think
Hmm.
that each individual state has their own history and own perspective. I think
Hmm.
each individual area, right? If you look at California, as you know, having been here, right? Northern and
Right.
Southern California are extremely different.
Yes, they are. Hmm.
Yes. You can talk about East Coast and West Coast.
Hmm.
Having spent 10 weeks on the East Coast, I could tell you policing is very
Hmm.
different on the East Coast and West Coast. That's a good question. And I think that with the East Coast and West Coast, the East Coast has such a history in policing, and it's just culturally different.
Hmm.
It's all the same. We all put on the badges and we all have the same desire for justice,
Hmm. Hmm.
but just the communities and their expectations of law enforcement is different.
It is different. I'll tell you where I am in Fort Myers, Florida. Now, this is a minor crime, relatively, unless you get in an accident. But nobody out here knows what a yellow light is. I mean, that just means speed up and go through it. But there are
Right.
so many times that when it turns green, I don't go right away. And if I would have, I would have gotten plowed into. I don't
Right.
see many people getting pulled over for it, which is maybe why it continues. Because I've met people who say, "Oh, I just loved it out there. And then I drove."
That's a good example because it's something that's hard to articulate differences
Hmm.
other than there's each community, each state has their own culture
Hmm. They do.
and something that they expect to be enforced, like a
Hmm.
traffic is a good example. In some areas, that isn't something that they want their law enforcement to enforce heavily, and in
Hmm.
some areas that is something that they want to enforce
Hmm.
heavily. And in certain communities as well, it changes. Just because
Right.
Barbara County thinks that we want our law enforcement officers to focus on something right now, it doesn't mean that in 10 years that is what they want the focus to be on.
Right.
And that's another thing that law enforcement does, right? Is we understand the community's expectations change and we adapt to that as well, all within the law, of course.
Oh my gosh, so interesting.
Yeah.
See, did you tell us about all your courses? Did we get them
No, I
all?
don't.
Oh.
I think we lost track, right? So then I had a advanced public speaking course.
Oh my goodness.
That's something that I personally, I'm not always the most confident in public speaking settings. So I wanted to make sure I gave myself a little more confidence. So
Well, that was brave of you just to take the class.
Yes, that was, I tried to really go into this program to get something meaningful out of it, to do some personal growth and then growth within my position so that I can come back better for the district attorney's office, better for Santa Barbara County, better for law enforcement in general.
Yeah, well, good for you. So you took several things that are basically tied to the media and public speaking and damage control, I guess you'd call it. So you didn't call it that, but I'm changing the verbiage just a little bit, but I suppose it covers that as well.
That's definitely a portion of it. I wouldn't say damage control. I think overall, right, just how you communicate and being open and forthcoming and getting information out there.
Much better description, Kristina.
Good job, Patty.
Anyway, oh, that's so great. I'm so glad you got so much out of it. I bet your family was happy when you got back home.
Yes, it was. I was able to come home one time during that 10 weeks. And I'm happy to be back. I've been back, what is this, my 3rd week back. So I'm adjusting slowly, but happy to be here. Happy to be back on Scam Squad. This is something I definitely hold near and dear to my heart.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Yes, of course. Something I thought about a lot while I was there. What can I bring back? How can we make an even larger impact, positive impact on the community? This, I know we talk a lot about it in what we really want to do is get the information out there about scams and really empower the community. And we have a lot of work to do because those scams are still happening, right?
They are. And when I came up with the concept of the word Scam Squad, what I really wanted, and I don't think I've ever talked to you about this, Kristina, is for people to become like a squad. You know, that's why there's the marching at the beginning. They're all kind of in it together, helping others. So it's not just about the individual warnings, but becoming a squad, a community that is working together to let each other know about scams. So as few people as possible get caught up in them.
That's one of the ways that we'll combat this, right? That we can make it better, and we can make it better, meaning make it safer for the community out there from being victimized, is getting the information out there. And it's not just us, right, Patty? It's it's the listeners, it's remembering, talk to your friends, talk about it, get everybody share a story. We've heard time and time again, even when I was out at the National Academy and I would talk about Scam Squad, people would share that they had been victims of scams.
Right.
How embarrassed they were. That's something to overcome, is people feeling embarrassed and not wanting to talk about it. So I love it. Yes, we are all a squad and we need to stick together.
So squad, remember to share Scam Squad, especially if you think an episode is particularly enlightening, warns you about something that you feel is very easy to fall for.
Yes. And one of the things too, I'm hoping, and we haven't talked about it, so hopefully you agree, is I'd love to have more guests on outside of our community, right? I'd love to have some of my fellow classmates come on.
Oh, I love that. I always love to meet new, different people too. Yeah.
I have some Florida classmates. Maybe we can get some of them on and talk about scams happening in all over the United States.
Yeah.
In Florida, we've received from our hotline that we give out, we have received phone calls from people all over the nation. One that sticks out in my mind is a caller from Utah. She had called because she had been researching scams and found Scam Squad and realized that she was the victim of a romance scam.
Oh,
yes.
What a way to find out. Yeah.
Right.
But at least she recognized it and believed it, because so many people do not.
Right. And that's the key, right, Patty, that she recognized it and believed it herself. Because we hear those stories that it takes a long time for people to come to terms with that they've been scammed. It's
Right.
embarrassing, it's heartbreaking, especially those romance scams that you genuinely feel like you've made that connection. But back to the point of the Utah. So knowing that this scam squad reaches outside of our area, outside of Santa Barbara County, and knowing that we can make a bigger impact nationally or even internationally by having guests on from all over sharing scams that are happening in different states, because they're all the same.
Right.
Right. It's all the same. If
Yeah.
if it's happening in Tennessee, it's happening in California.
Oh, I'm in total agreement. So we're in sync there.
I know the listeners probably really enjoyed having Investigator Greg Hans.
He was really interesting. He has a lot of knowledge from all his years in law enforcement, and he has a really nice, congenial style of talking with people. So he said maybe you'd let him come back sometimes. We can have him as a part of Scam Squad too.
Oh, I'm sure the listeners have absolutely fallen in love with Investigator Hans and will probably leave messages wanting him back on. So I would ask to have him on. We can do a Scam Squad trio, the three of us.
Oh, that sounds great. So Kristina, I don't know if you have anything else to mention.
I'll just end with a little story for the listeners of what else we did at the National Academy. So I was National Academy class 293. There's been 293 classes. They say that it's about 55,900 law enforcement professionals have graduated from the National Academy. It started in 1935. So that's how long it's been going on. One of the things that we do while we're there is earn what they call the yellow brick. So as I mentioned, that there's also a physical training portion of this. And at the end of our experience, we participate in a physical challenge, which is an obstacle course. And if we finish that physical challenge, then we earn the yellow brick. So the challenge was a 2.2-mile obstacle course, and this is on the Marine Corps base. So this is a Marine obstacle course.
Wow.
And then after the 2.2-mile obstacle course, it's a 4-mile run. So it's a little over 6 miles running. And I am happy and proud to announce that I earned my yellow brick. And I wasn't ready. So if you just give me a second, I can show the listeners.
Oh, absolutely.
Or show the YouTubers. Not the listeners, the people that watch us on YouTube. So this is my yellow brick.
The yellow brick road. Oh, that is, congratulations, Kristina.
Thank you.
Wow, you must feel so strong and fit right now.
Literally strong.
Literally strong. That's amazing. Well, I, for one, am very proud of you, as I'm sure all your colleagues are, and our listeners, just everybody, your family. So again, congratulations.
Thank you, Patty.
You're welcome. Look forward to next week.
All right. So do I. I will see you in 1 week.
Okay. Thank you, Kristina. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.